Welcome to the Broker Growth Accelerator, where we discuss how real estate brokers can accelerate their growth by improving their agent recruiting and retention. I'm your host, Jim Turner, and today we'll discuss growth tactics with our special guest, who is a subject matter expert in the industry. Let's get started. Hi, my name is Jim Turner. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Brokerkit, and I'll be your host today. Today on the show, we're very excited to welcome Jill Butler to the podcast. She is a broker owner of an independent brokerage in the St. Louis area. Jill, welcome to the Broker Growth Accelerator.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here.
Let's just start out with a little bit of background. So how long have you been in the business? How did you get into real estate? How did you end up kind of like with your own brokerage?
My career before real estate was sales and marketing, worked in ad agencies and things like that. And then got in as an agent when I started having kids. I just wanted a bit more control of my schedule. And so I worked at kind of luxury boutiques, one in town called Janet McAfee. I worked for the Sotheby's company here. And then later I went to Keller Williams and I became their sales manager. And then, so I've been in the business over 20 years. I think I started in 2002. And then 12 years ago, I opened my own independent brokerage.
Let's just maybe talk about your brokerage a little bit for a while. Like, how many agents do you have now, and where do you want to be 12 months from now?
We have about 200 agents. I would like to end up at 250 this year. Our ultimate goal, we would like to have 4 offices and have 400 agents in the next few years. That's pretty aggressive growth goals.
Great. We love the aggressive growth goals. That's what we're here for. Maybe just tell us more about like what are the territories and the niches you're targeting in terms of maybe buyers and sellers, but also like agents. Where do you fit within the market?
That's a great question. So I like to say we are, I want us to be a big enough presence in the communities that we're big and we're powerful, but we're also still personable and, kind of boutique. So it kind of like straddles maybe in between the two. We cover St. Louis. Like I said, we have 3 offices. And I think for agents, we sort of say like we like agents that are very productive and want to be professional, want to scale their career, and they're nice. Those are our 2 things.
I usually hear the former, the latter less
very
frequent.
Important for everyone's like well-being and happiness. We have core values, and we always say we recruit, we hire and fire to core values. So anytime I sit down with someone for recruiting, we go over the core values. And if there's ever conflict in the company, whether it's staff or agents, we pull out the core values and just say, okay, we seem to be out of alignment. Let's discuss.
That sounds like someone would say if they follow EOS. Is that something you follow?
Yeah, no, we like EOS.
It's like one of these questions that I'm always afraid to ask, so I don't put people on the spot if they have core values, but I love it when they do. And that's something that we have adopted. It's a recurring theme, by the way, on this podcast.
It just saves a lot of grief down the road because it's sort of like we like diversity. We have all different types of agents, but these are sort of our rules of engagement. And if everyone agrees when they start, then when there's a problem, it's what we can refer back to.
Right. When you're interacting with those agents and maybe like when you're interacting with prospective agents, like what sets you apart compared to the other brokerages out there? Why would they leave another brokerage to come to you? What's unique about you?
I think it's, and maybe it changes as the market changes, but and maybe every company says this, but it's culture. I really truly believe that. But it's also like, I believe your environment is going to impact your production. I think there's a difference. This is just my opinion. There's great companies with all different models, but it's like we're definitely an in-person company, bricks and mortar. Because I just think typically agents do better when they show up at the office or around other like-minded agents. They're training, they're sharing information. So culture, but as that looks at like productivity, how do we help agents grow? And, I want them to have a better business and a better life.
You talked in general about kind of the agents you're targeting, but like maybe be a little more specific. Are you looking for new agents, experienced agents? If you're looking for experienced agents, are you looking for kind of the mega producers, people that are maybe just getting started, somewhere in between? Like, what's the profile that you
So I know this sounds crazy, but it keeps going back to core value match is probably more that because we've had new agents. In fact, my top agent now started with us as a new agent, and she's doing over 65 million. So new agents can grow into big teams. And then you could have big teams that have a ton of production. And if it's not a core value match, again, it's going to be learning based, who wants to grow, wants to scale, and who's also collaborative and nice. I talk to lots of people and I wouldn't not take new agents. But again, I'm going to kind of ask a lot of questions to see how realistic and how resilient and hardworking they are.
Right. And so how do you determine that? You said you hire fire and give kudos and whatnot around the core values. When you're hiring, how do you look for that? Like, what are those core values and how do you deduce that in the interactions
I'll
with
tell
them?
you, like, everybody work on your core values and then present them. And it's a litmus test because sometimes agents are like, okay, that's fine. I don't care what's your split. That's all they want to know. And it's like, that's awesome. That's probably all I need to know right then. Just
Right.
like, we're just not seeing things the same way. But core values one, do you know the honey badger video?
I don't know the Hunter
Okay.
Badger video.
That's one of our core values. We are honey badgers. If you Google, it was a video that was on YouTube probably 15 years ago. Honey badger is the most fearless animal on earth, extremely resilient. No matter what happens, the honey badger doesn't stop. So it's kind of funny, but it's really true because in real estate, you're going to have problems in life. There's probably always 2 or 3 solutions. So we're going to be solution focused to overcome the problems. So it's resiliency. I say we're big hearted. We care about our community. We care about our clients. We care about each other. We are servant leaders. We're fun and a little quirky. So we go through those. But for new agents, 75, I've even heard it up to like 87% new agents get out of the business.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about it, but I talk about the failure rate in real estate and how we have lots of training and resources, but they have to be willing to meet us at the starting line. And they need to have a database coming in. Because again, people watch reality TV shows about real estate and think it's really easy. So I just want to prepare them and almost discourage them. But the people who show up and come in with their spreadsheet ready to go with their database, they've got to like, it's a sales business. So the more you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it.
Do you ever leverage personality assessments like DISC or anything like
Yeah.
that and
Yes.
which one do you use and what do you look for there?
Well, the 2 that I like, but probably for agents is DISC. But I'm also going to say they're successful agents with every DISC behavioral style. I
Right.
sort of like it. That's your owner's manual that tells you something about yourself and how to, every strength can also be a weakness. So how to navigate that. I think the typical conventional wisdom is high D's and high I's from the DISC are going to be your salespeople, but there's some awesome, highly successful high C's, high S's. Again, it's just understanding you may do your lead generation differently, but we still have to do the activities.
Right. Right. Given kind of the timing, the other question I would have around the NAR settlement, especially as you're interacting with people. What are you telling prospective agents? And the reason I ask is I've in several conversations recently, the people that seem to have a clear message and get it out right now, there's a lot of people very receptive to it. And people are eager for information and clarity. And to the degree that you can provide that, it's a great time to start conversations and honestly probably recruit a lot of people that are in a situation where they feel there's a lot of uncertainty. Yeah. What are your thoughts there and how do you approach that?
I truly believe, I mean, going back to resilience, but agents are very resilient. You know, again, look back at COVID. In an instant, we had to change the way we did everything and we made it through. We've got time to plan and prepare, but we will get through this. And again, I know, I mean, it's the information, it's sort of like we're so accustomed to doing a listing presentation. Now you're going to do a buyer's presentation and we're learning the forms. But again, it's just different conversations, different forms. We're still there to show up and be of service and help our clients. Really, I try to encourage agents, we're here to help and we'll give you lots of information and we're going to work on our language and scripting and how to navigate this. But also don't listen to the noise too much because it's still the same job of suit up, show up, get in the game, talk to your clients, be of service. They still want to buy a house. They still want to sell a house. I do think I completely agree with what you're saying that agents feel uncertain and they need leaders right now. And that's what broker owners, managers should be leaning into. A leader helps you go from where you are to where you want to get to. And there's a bit of a disruption going on. So we need to be there to guide them. And similarly, like agents need to have that same approach with their clients. A lot of clients don't know exactly what all this means.
100%. They're dealing with uncertainty too, right?
So I think that's true. Like turn it on the agent. Like sometimes we're so worried, but your client's still worried and they have a big goal. So focus on them and helping them get there.
Here at Brokerkit, we really, we believe brokerages that focus on the talent funnel in addition to the sales funnel can see really great gains to the business, right? So many brokers start out on the sales side, they move their way up and they're very dialed in on the sales side. But we believe to bring scale to your business, you need to really also focus on the talent side, which is really how to build an organization where you can predictably bring in agents that are successful and kind of produce. And that's really what our focus here is. And the next questions I would ask are really around like your thoughts around that talent funnel.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe let's just start top of the funnel, which is we talked about ideal agents. Who's a match for you? How do you find them? Like, what are the sources of kind of recruiting leads from a tactical perspective? Where do they come from?
Well, I mean, I think, and someone probably published this, I don't know, but there's 12 or 14 lead pillars for recruiting. Just like for an agent, there's several different ways you can find clients. Number one for us, and I think probably most successful brokerages, is your own agents. They're in the field. They know who's good, who's someone they'd want to work with. So make sure you are engaging your own agents to help who would be an asset to the brokerage. So leverage your own agents. Co-op deals, you can reach out to the people who are also engaging with your agents. And then from there, I mean, it just goes on like events. For me, I love events. We are very learning based. So we may do educational events or top agent panels. We are going to be sending information out. And then when people attend those events, then we're also getting the information. So they're in our CRM after that. Again, it's just like, think about who you are, what your brokerage stands for, and what your strengths are. And then as you put that out in the world, you're going to attract those people. And going back to tech, it's like, I'm very relationship based and I love to meet people and do things, but you have to have a place to put them in your CRM and nurture them because it's the long game. And I often say, like, if someone's completely happy where they are, that's great. I'm happy to be your second choice in case anything changes. And it changes a lot right now. You want to be in a relationship. And I think we all have best intentions of staying in touch with people, but we need to have them in a CRM and make sure that they're being touched and it's reminding us when we need to call and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, by the way, for the listeners out there, the answers you just gave, I've asked this question to many people, not only on the podcast, but in interactions. And what you just said typically are the most successful channels to find those agents. Whereas when I hear people say like, well, I'm sending out kind of this email newsletter quarterly and we just don't get the response we used to, that's usually the people that are really hitting the problems. But the folks that are focusing on the channels that you are and that you just talked about are the ones that are probably seeing the most success.
I think it is like the more you can have face-to-face or voice-to-voice interaction, but you definitely have to have that CRM follow-up and the email newsletter. Because again, somebody may be happy and then 6 months or a year later, they close their office or they fire the broker. You can't keep in touch with everybody. So you need both components very much.
Right. And the one-on-one touches and the fortunes in the follow-up. It is not just starting the conversation, it's keeping in touch so that they know, like, and trust you. And when it's the right time, you're the one they call. Yeah. So then say you have a conversation started with someone, where do you go from there? Like, how do you turn it into something a little more formal? Do you invite them into the office for some kind of appointment? How do you initiate that conversation? Like, how does that typically flow?
My goal is always to get a face-to-face appointment. And sometimes it's in the office. Sometimes it's just getting coffee somewhere. Again, depending on the person and if they feel like they don't want to come into your office. But I always approach it. You're sifting and sorting. You don't even know if this is someone you would want or if they would want to come to your brokerage. Basically, a needs analysis of what's their business like? How's their business going? I always ask them, what do you like best about where you are? If someone made you the manager and you could make changes for the benefit of the other agents, what would you change? I'm just listening because it may be a fit, it may not. And I would say I've been doing this a long time. In the beginning, I'm sure I made the mistake of almost is it featured down where you just like say, hey, we do this, we have this. It's like, that's not really important. I would always take the approach of like, it's about them. You want them to talk, tell about their background, kind of their aspirations. And then you're thinking, is this like, it needs to be mutually beneficial. So if there's someone you really think you could impact their career and help them and you feel like they're a good core value match, then that's the next step. So first one is almost stay in neutral. You want to meet them because we're doing deals with everybody. So we want to have relationships with everybody in our industry. Don't start out recruiting.
What are some of the common objections you hear in those discussions with people and how do you address them?
I think a lot of it's going to be, it seems daunting if it's an experienced agent with a lot of business, just the whole thought of moving. I don't think anybody wakes up in the morning saying, hey, I hope a recruiter calls me and wants me to uproot my entire business for no apparent reason. So I think it's just the obstacle of change. And is it going to be hard? And is it going to disrupt my business? The way to counter that is have a really good onboarding, have it written out. We have agent services. You might bring your agent services person and talk about, these are all the things we need to do. These are the things we can take care of to make it easy for you. Sometimes it's just depends on the personality type. But some people are like, oh, I really want to make a change, but my friends are at my other brokerage. Well, they can always bring their friends. That's one. But also just making sure they're part of, invite them to events where they start to get to know your agents and kind of feel the culture, and they can see that, okay, they can create friendships there as well. So it's like listening. There's not one like objection handler for everybody. You're going to listen to what their pain points are and then solve for that. And then again, some people's like, they may have the production, but they want more time with systems and talking about how you can help alleviate that, just finding out what their pain points are and seeing if you do have the solution for that.
And then you talked about kind of your core values and trying to assess alignment with that. So say someone's not a fit, how do you handle that?
I just say, I'm so glad I got to meet with you. Based on this, I don't think we're the right company for you. We're not a fit, but here's some other companies I would recommend.
I love that. That's actually my favorite question.
They start to lean in like, no, I want to come. It's kind of
So
funny.
that's actually one of my favorite questions, because what I've noticed is the broker owners that have made it kind of to the scale you're at are willing to say no and know that it's not a fit. Whereas people more getting started are more willing to just say yes to everything.
Yeah.
And just bring in whether it's a fit or not, which then almost creates a situation where it's hard to scale if you don't have kind of a good alignment with the team and really like a core focus for the business.
It's the same thing we're talking about, but know kind of your ideal agent that you, and it's partly because they will bring value to you, but also you're going to bring value to them. So we talk a lot about everybody having a CRM and doing marketing and doing calls. If you're an agent just wants to do 1 or 2 houses a year and you want the cheapest split and you really don't want the broker bugging you, you wouldn't like it here. You would hate it, because we'd be saying like, how's your CRM? And are you reaching out? And how's your business? Again, know who you best serve and then stay focused on that.
Flip side, you have a great conversation and it seems like a fit. Where do you go from there? How do you kind of close them? How do you kind of turn that into kind of onboarding? Where does it flow from there?
It's very rare for me that it's the first meeting and they say, yes, I want to come. And that's probably good. Occasionally when I've had that, it's usually a bad thing. Like sometimes if someone's in a hurry, it's because they're having to leave a brokerage. Like that could be a red flag. So again, it's just about the relationship. And there are questions that sometimes, I don't know if you've heard this, it's a script, but I think it's a good script. Like on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being, please don't ever call me again. And 10 is like, I'm excited, I want to come. I want to make sure my motivation matches your motivation. Because again, if they're at like a 2, I don't want to stalk them. And if they are at a 9, I don't want to drop the ball because I'm like, oh, I didn't know they were interested. And then I just say, like, say they say I'm a 6. I say, okay, what would it take, to be a 7? Because again, I'm just trying to hear where the obstacle or hesitation is, kind of finding out where they are. And then it goes back to, it's on the broker manager to keep the conversation going. Because again, I feel like once they go back to their business, the interest can dissipate. Staying engaged. If it looks like someone you really want and you really can help them, then find reasons to re-engage with them. Contact them. Again, when you see that they have a new listing, when you see that their production is going up, or you just want to talk about how is business, show up as the trusted advisor.
Absolutely. And then, so then they sign. What does onboarding look like for your brokerage? And maybe there's different swim lanes depending on new agent, experienced agent, wherever they go. But how do you handle that?
We have an agent services person that goes through the checklist and just making sure they're getting set up on the CRM and on the systems and the email. And then we have in-person sales meetings every Tuesday. I want to make sure I'm seeing them pretty regularly, and then just making sure that they know the staff that they can talk to when they have a question. But I also think the first month, everybody should be touching base, because you want it to be a good experience and you want them to feel like if they have any questions, we're there for them. I also am a big believer in coaching. And again, some agents really like coaching, some don't. I think that's our value proposition, is if you come with us, we're going to help develop your career. And when we lose people, but I always think it's because they bought the vision from someone else. Someone else was telling them, I can help your career. So it's incumbent on us to make sure we're the ones keeping in touch and helping them with their vision.
And so in terms of setting those goals, how does that work? I mean, are there, and I would guess it's probably a little different, maybe a little more prescriptive for like new agents. I mean, are you helping set goals for them? Are you a little more lax with the experienced agents saying, what are your goals, and help them get there?
We have a process, and we try to do it like November, December, like setting your business plan. And even that, isn't that interesting that, an agent's running their own business, and sometimes it's really hard to get them to come in and sit down. But again, I think it should be pleasant. Like it's about them. We're not like telling them you have to do this much or else. It's like what looks good to them. And the great thing of real estate is it can expand or shrink. Like maybe they have more family things going on and they want to cut back a bit, or maybe they have some tuition issues and they want to make a lot of money for their kids. So it's like, it starts with them, but helping them see, and then, big goal and then activities to get you to that goal. So yeah, we do have a formalized business plan. I wish I could say we're at 100%, but that's my goal of like every agent, even if it's minimal, just have an idea of the income you want to make, the number of deals you want to do, and maybe it's the number of vacations you want to take.
I like that. That's not a goal set for me, but that would be a good one. The other thing that I consistently hear is, in terms of helping your agents be successful, ultimately retention is about helping them succeed, which is in many ways helping them produce in this business, given the nature of the comp plans. Part of that is coaching. The other part is just keeping their head in the game, keeping them engaged. You talked about getting people to come into the office. What do you do there? I literally had a call a couple days ago where someone said, it's really hard to get people to come to the office.
Yeah.
We have a 10,000-foot office, and it's like a ghost town, and a couple people a week come in there. How do you, and obviously there's virtual brokerages out there now, and they seem to be seeing a lot of success, but that's not the model for everyone. Like, how do you approach that? How do you keep people engaged just to kind of stick with it, so to speak?
What I've noticed is people come in like Tuesday sales meetings, Tuesday's busy. And then they may not come in again for a while. So it's like, think sort of like events. So you're going to teach a class, or you're going to have a happy hour, whatever you're going to do, have social interaction. And then you let people know, but I pick up the phone. And they will show up if you call and ask them like, hey, can you come to this class? I think it's really going to be a good class for you. It's going to make an impact on your business. So we may have to do a little bit more outreach. And then I'll be honest, like there's a little FOMO going on. If you have a big happy hour and everybody's there and you post it on Facebook, everybody misses it. So, it's sort of changed, but we have to make sure we're providing places where they can connect and engage and make it fun and interesting. And maybe I'm always optimistic, but I think some agents are lonely right now with all the NAR stuff. I've talked to a few who are in virtual brokerages, and they'll take my meeting because they're like, people come in the office, like they need that connection right now.
Yeah. Do they want to go watch a webinar about the NAR settlement, or do they want to actually talk to someone?
Yes.
So it's a good time to actually have that human connection, especially with someone who seems to have a sense of certainty and a message around it. How do you know that you have a great hire? Is it in, 30, 60, 90 days? What does that look like? What are you looking to see at that point? And how do you know that it's been a great fit?
So for a new agent, it's showing up and being coachable. If we say we need to get your database going, that they're showing up at the training and they're doing it. And we have a phrase that we always say, suit up, show up, get in the game. Again, a lot of people start with great ambition or ideas, and then they just don't do the work of showing up and doing the business activities to get to their goals. So again, I think within a month of a new agent hire, you're going to be able to tell if they're not coming in. That's the first problem. And even, my seasoned agents, when I coach them, it's not very sexy. It's pretty boring, but it's just like, okay, what time are you going to start work every day? Come into the office. And then you're going to have time where you're going to reach out and make connections. When are you going to do that? So it's just like that, very back to basics. And if you can if you can control your morning, you're going to do okay.
Well, that kind of covered all the questions I had kind of through the funnel, from kind of recruiting through retention. But maybe a more general question, now that you've been in the business quite a while and you've progressed within that business, maybe some of our listeners are a little earlier in their progression and in that journey. What are some of the things that you wish you knew earlier in the journey that would have maybe, sped up or accelerated your progress to where you are now, so that they can kind of think about how to put those to practice?
Have a database. We've done Ninja selling. We do a lot of training with Ninja. And they say 40% of agents have a database, meaning 60% don't. Everyone you meet can go in your database. And again, you don't want to have your first year over and over and over. If you build your database, that's your gold mine, that's your business. It's all about relationships and then keeping in touch with those relationships. And if you don't have a system for that, I don't know how you do it, especially year after year.
That's our kind of niche in the marketplace, by the way. People really immediately think of their agent sales CRM in the database of buyers and sellers, right? But in terms of a broker owner or brokerage leader who wants to grow their business and focus on the talent funnel, that needs to be a database of the agents in the marketplace and the conversations around that. And you need to kind of approach it the same way. And we regularly talk to very large brokerages that have a super sophisticated system and pipelines and management on the sales side, and they're running off of a Google Sheet with like hundreds, if not thousands of agents, right? And we believe, and I'm glad to hear that, because I think our listeners can benefit from it, whether you use our tool or not. You really need to have that same intentionality on your talent funnel and your interactions with the agents, just like with buyers and sellers.
Because really think, if you're a broker manager and someone you met 2 or 3 years ago, if you're in this for the long term, they may be a great agent and they may be looking around. So you just have to have a way of keeping in touch with them.
Absolutely. So Jill, thank you so much. Great
Yeah,
stuff. I think that covers all the questions for today, but where
that's
could
great.
our listeners find you online if they have kind of questions for you?
Just Red Key Realty, St. Louis is where you can find me. But I can give you my email or whatever. People can reach out to me if they have any questions.
Okay, awesome. Jill, thank you so much. And thanks to our listeners out there for tuning in. Think about some of the things that Jill talked about today and how you can put it into practice. Love the comments around you got to have a database. Love for it to be Brokerkit, but whatever system you're using, you need to kind of manage it and bring that intentionality to your talent funnel, like the sales funnel. And then back to how she has the conversation start. I think the list that she provided in terms of, I'd be curious, you mentioned kind of a list of 14, curious where that comes from and what the 14 are, but you hit the highlights. And
okay, and I can send them to you. I mean, the big ones are your agents, co-ops, vendors. Talk to vendors because they know a lot of agents. Like, who do you know who would be a great fit? Events, go to agent open houses, go to board events.
Yep. Get out there and start conversations at the end of the day, right? Email works and it needs to be part of it, but just blasting emails is probably necessary, but not sufficient to really see the growth that someone.
But I'm going to go back to the CRM. Like, you meet someone and what they're really interested in, and you capture that. So we're doing a combination of blast emails are going out, inviting people to events, but also it's really important for me to know, or, oh, we're going to have a tech event, and I can look and go like, okay, here are the people who are really dialed in on tech. So it's like, it's both. It's, large scale and individual. And
following up with them in a conversational way after the event, right?
Yep.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's it for today. Thanks, Jill,
thanks, Jim.
For joining the podcast today. And thanks for our listeners for tuning in line. And please subscribe to us on Apple, Spotify, or on YouTube and listen to future sessions. Thanks so much and have a great day.